in anything you want to do, you've got to do it intentionally. It cannot be something you are bounced into. I mean, for example, prior to COVID-19, many companies or organizations have maybe 2-3 page website, which simply just give their name, their address, and maybe 1 or 2 things about the company. There was no e-commerce on the website, nothing at all. What has happened since COVID-19 and the compulsory closure of businesses like government is that such companies have struggled. They struggle because even if they can quickly create a website that's e-enabled, the support structure doesn't exist. The fulfillment system, the delivery system that is behind it doesn't exist. So it's been a major problem for us. So intentionality matters. The last thing I want to say about intentionality is there are quite a lot of businesses all over the world that are dying as a result of not moving online. Some are winning, and they've seen after a while people stop visiting them. I don't want to mention names because you can watch it in any part of the world. Some of the companies I will mention are not coming back to them. So you will know companies in your locality that gone out of business in the last decade because they refuse to intention about their online business. So it's about their online presence. So first key is got to be intentional. Point. So what are you supposed to do about this particular point? What I want you to do is find a post-it note or a little piece of paper and write on it and put it around your bedroom, at least 3 different places in your bedroom where you will see every day. Write it there and on it write intention. That's the title, intention. And below that, you need to write something like, I intentionally wish to build my brand as a whatever it is you want to do. I intentionally want to build my business online as a, you fill in the blanks. So you need to do that. And the reason you're doing that, I said you should do is put it at least 3 places around your bedroom, is to constantly remind you that this is what you want to do. This is intentional. Nobody's bouncing you into it. It is a deliberate decision that you are taking. So intentionality is the first pillar. I hope you got that. Number 2, the second pillar is what I call authenticity. Authenticity. Lots of people, go online all the time. There are lots of, cameras on mobile phones these days. Anybody can just go online and, create any content they like. But there's something about authenticity that is needed to succeed online. In my notes, I said authenticity means you speak your own truth. And I said you need to focus on documenting instead of creating. What do I mean by that? Authenticity is about being yourself. What I want to say about authenticity is this. You need to understand that research has shown that when we communicate, only 8% of our communication is verbal. So as you are listening to me right now, your perception and understanding of what I'm saying is based only on 8% of the words I'm using. The remaining 92% is based around my body language, my tone of speaking, my gesture, my facial expressions. All these things enable you or help you to understand better what I'm saying. You see, the thing with authenticity is difficult to hide in your body language. You need to, even if you are saying it, people will know whether you're authentic or not just by mere looking at you. Authenticity means you have to tell your own story. Your imperfections, your differences are actually what make you authentic. Don't ever think, no matter how peculiar you think you are, that you are the only person in the world that fits that particular, category. There are thousands and millions of people who are exactly like you, waiting for someone like you. As a matter of illustration, if, for example, you love palm oil, you love everything palm oil, Don't go online and start selling or promoting vegetable oil, because you will never be authentic with it. You know, your passion, your lack of passion will show. You know, so you need to stick with what you know, authenticity. And I said documenting rather than creating. What I mean by that is creating sometimes can mean you are sort of creating something artificial. Creating can sometimes mean you are creating something you think people will like to see or people will like to hear. Whereas documenting means this is who I am. This is what I do. So I'm documenting myself as I am. So documenting creates authenticity. Authenticity creates genuineness. And that genuineness warms you to people. Yes, some people will not like it. Yes, you need to understand that there's nothing you're offering online that will be universally accepted. Even the biggest company in the world, Apple, there are people I know who will not touch anything Apple with a batch pole, as popular and as wealthy as Apple is. So there's no product or service, you know, that is universally accepted. No, there's none. So there'll be people who like it, there are people who don't like it. But authenticity matters, because that helps you to define who you are more clearly and helps to accentuate your value proposition to your potential audience. You got so ask yourself, what am I authentic about? What am I authentic? Oh, I'm crazy about sugarcane. I know how to use sugarcane for all kinds of things. Then go out and make that your authentic self. There was something somebody showed me a while ago of a lady who is allergic to makeup. So she started some online activities, or I don't know, I think it's public business now, where she shows how you can look glamorous without makeup. She turned her imperfection into a proposition. So she's allergic to makeup. So rather than trying to go online and show how you can do makeup, she decided that I will be authentic. I cannot use makeup, so how do I look glamorous without makeup? That is authenticity. That's an idea. So you've got to ask yourself, what is your authentic self? Authenticity also allows you to bring new angle to the same business proposition. So you want to go online to do something, and there are hundreds of people already in that sector. Your authenticity allows you your unique angle to enter that market. It may be a subset of the market that you're actually capturing. It doesn't matter. But your authenticity gives you the uniqueness you need to make a difference. So the second thing, therefore, you have to be authentic. You've got to be your real self. If it's not business, if it's just online influence you want to build, be known for something. Be known for something. It doesn't matter what it is. I remember a few years back, I did an exercise with a few friends, and we started by joking by saying, there's a support group somewhere for practically anything on the face of the earth. And they said, no, that's not true. So I said, okay, let's try it. So they will mention something, maybe a bat or worms or a hibiscus flower. They've just named things randomly, and we Googled it. And we found out that there is a fan group or support group or charity for every of this single item. So there are some people that, we even found a publication about worms, these worm spotters, so to speak. All they do is go out every day looking for worms. They advocate for support of worms and all that. Now, I'm giving you an example to show that no matter how obscure your passion is, no matter how obscure what you do is, there are people who like doing what you do. Your authenticity is your differentiation. Note that. Your authenticity is your differentiation. Because what makes you different from everybody else? Celebrate it. Service you offer. There are plenty of people who want to do that. So the first one we said was intentional. We have to be intentional about it. The second pillar is authenticity. You've got to be authentic. So what's your action point about authenticity? Then you need to take a piece of paper. This time around, you don't need to. Whatever it is, that is, you feel is your peculiar. I'm not trying to do what somebody else is doing. I'm doing me. So authenticity means stand for something. Stand for something you love. So that's the second pillar. Now, to the third pillar. The third pillar in terms of making good of your online business actually links to the second one, and that's passion. Passion. You must identify your passion and make that the subject of your brand development. Now, the reason why passion is very important is this. You see, adversity is common to everybody in life. There's no business you want to do that you will not face disappointment, opposition. And see how this third pillar, the passion, works well or rebuilds on the second one, which is authenticity. Once you're already authentic, it's easier to be passionate about it because you're not making up. You're not making it up. You're not playing to the gallery. You are being yourself. So being passionate about being yourself is a lot easier than than being passionate about something you're just making up because you feel that's what people want to see or people want to hear. And passion and authenticity allows you to be consistent. Yes, allows you to be consistent. If you are building, excuse me, if you are building an online personality, for example, people need over a period of time to see a consistency in the way you speak, in the stand you take on issues. The only way that consistency can show is because you're authentic and you're passionate about it. Otherwise, you will be inconsistent. So if you say this because you think that's a popular thing, you want to be popular today, next week you say something else because you feel that's a popular view, over a period of time, you will be everywhere. People will not be able to place you. People will not know what you stand for or what you represent. So authenticity, the second point, and now passion allows you to be consistent, in what you stand for, in what you do. So passion is very key. And the reason why passion is important is this. Passion is contagious. I'll say that again. Passion is contagious. This reminds me of when I was in law school years ago. One of the models in law school that I particularly didn't like, and quite a few of my friends, we just said it's going to be a nightmare to do this, was land law. Land law was particularly difficult, we felt at that time, because it's not just learning law, it's almost like learning additional language in addition to law. And then after the second class in land law became what myself and a few of my friends, we look forward to land law more than any other model. What was the difference? We had the most passionate and enthusiastic professor that teach law. That woman, I'm telling you, she can sell smoke to Eskimos. Snow to Eskimos. She was very passionate about it. And I remember after the first class thinking, am I missing something here? Is this no land law she's describing as though it's the best thing since sliced bread? By the time she did the second class, all my inhibitions and reservations about land law disappeared. Everything became land law, and I loved it. That's till today. That's one of the things that made me to like land law. What am I saying there? I'm saying passion is enthusiasm. Do something, and you tell yourself, I don't agree with that, but I admire his passion. I won't do it that way, but I admire her passion. Because passion is convincing. Passion is convincing. So if you're in business online, you want to build service online, you want to build a personality online, influence online, people have to see that you are passionate about something or about the subject matter. Passion is key. Now, passion here is not about aggression. We need to understand that, because many of our young people these days, they've mistaken passion for abuse. Passion for, I'm interested in this subject, I'm passionate about it, therefore anyone who disagrees with me, I must abuse them. No. Passion has to be controlled. You have to deliver it in such a way that those who love it will love it, and those who don't love it will admire it. I will say that again. Those who love what you're doing will love it, and those who don't love it will admire it, even though it's not their cup of tea. You only do that when you are controlled about passion. If you go around abusing everybody because something is your passion, you alienate Those who don't like it, instantly. And among those who like it, many of them will not like your method. So your market becomes very tiny. So you've got to learn to speak and demonstrate your passion in a way that is positive. So your action point for this is, what are you passionate about? How do you, you probably will have done that through because that will be peculiar to you. Is my passion related to the frequency in which I talk about the subject? Is my passion related to the depth of research and quality of information I give about it? Is my passion related to my general body language, the way I show enthusiasm about it? Is that how my passion? Is my passion displayed by how much money I spend? Because sometimes you can see somebody is passionate about something by how much money they commit to it. If somebody, spend his money to buy lots of old cars, and you go to his side, you see lots of these old cars, that should tell you he's passionate about old cars. Why? Because his money has gone to demonstrate his passion. So money can be, what you spend your money on can demonstrate something you are passionate about. So you need to list down, how will I demonstrate my passion for this subject area? For whatever it is you want to do, how will I demonstrate my passion for it? So you've got to list that down. By the way, all these things, as we go through them, any questions that's coming to you, please be noting them down. We're going to have a question and answer session. So the third pillar, like we said, is passion. You've got to be passionate about it. Number four. The fourth pillar is patience, your proposition. So you can't afford to just do it for a short while and give up. You need to understand that. Patience is very important. And there's a popular story, or a lost bamboo tree. I don't know, many of you remember that story. You probably have heard it many times in many spheres before. There's this Chinese bamboo tree that when you plant it for the first, is it 4 or 5 years? For the first 5 years, I think to height for 5 years. But in the 6th year, I'm told, it grows to 6 foot tall. So the question, therefore, is, when did that tree grow? If you say that tree grew in the 6th year, you'll be wrong. You see, because all those 5 years where there was nothing to show for it, the tree was growing. Because if you did not preserve, nurture, and look after that tree for those 5 years of no physical growth, the tree will not be alive to be able to grow 6 foot tall in the 6th year. So patience, therefore, means doing the same thing, even when it appears as though it's not working. Being consistent with your craft is important. You have to be consistent with your craft, even if it appears as though nobody, is taking notice of it. If nothing else, you are showing your passion. You see, because patience allows people to warm up to your idea. Human beings can be fickle. What they didn't like yesterday, could be the hinting tomorrow. It's like fashion. There's a time one thing is in fashion, then a few years later it stops being in fashion. A few years after that, it comes back into fashion again. So, you just got to be authentic, like I said earlier. So you've got to be patient. You've got to be patient. I know people who build online business, for example, for the first 2 years, I think they didn't have more than 500 followers. And within 9 months after the 2 years, they grew to more than 100,000. Why? Serendipity. Something could happen that will make your business that was, in quote, unpopular, suddenly to become popular. A film could come out that speaks to your passion, and therefore people who didn't notice your passion before suddenly now notice it. So you've got to stay with it, is my point. Patience is absolutely key. You cannot afford to give up. So you've got to be patient. So patient is the number 4 pillar. So you shouldn't give up at all. You should be consistent with it, stay with it, and continue doing it. By the time other people catch up to what you are doing, you will have gotten better at it. That's the key point. Like I was saying at the beginning of this broadcast, I said that, this is my first masterclass, so I'm not used to how to channel environment. But the key point I'm making is, I'm sure by the time I'm doing this for, say, a few months, I become more of an expert at responding. are reacting to cameras privately. So patience allows you to get better at what you do. That's the key point I'm trying to make. Patience allows you to get better. So you need to be patient. That's number 4. And number 5, write this down, is speed. 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 It's very, very important. What do I mean by speed? We live in a digital age where, everybody wants something done very fast. And speed means don't allow too much time to lapse between when you got an idea and when you deliver it. I'll say it again. Don't allow too much time to lapse between when an idea came to you and when you're actually implementing it. It's, I don't know where it's ever occurred to you, you're talking about building personal brand, for example. An idea came to you, you wanted to write something, but you said, I won't write it. You didn't write it, I wait. And then 4 days later, somebody else wrote exactly what you had in mind 4 days earlier. And you said, whoa, this person read my private thoughts. If you now say what you had wanted to say 5 days ago now, it's possible a lot of people will accuse you of copying this new person that said it. Meanwhile, you might have to understand that speed matters, because speed can make a very good idea obsolete if you don't act on it quickly enough. Speed matters. For example, you have a product or a service, and if that relates to that film, that when the film is still number 1 or number 2 in the box office, it matters. Bringing those services and products out a year after the film has been released, we don't have the same value. So speed matters. So you've got to understand that we're dealing, with digital world now, and therefore everything happens at a faster pace. So you can't afford to allow things to lie down for too long. You have an idea overnight, and you wake up and say, whoa, I dreamt about something. Go in front of a camera that morning, in front of your computer, put it down, push it out, there and then immediately. You can fine tune it later. Let it be clear to people that you brought out that idea first, that this was your thinking. But don't say, I will sleep, and you sleep over it week 1, week 2, week 3. You still haven't done anything about it. By the time you go online, you will see 10 people in the last 1 week will have written about that subject, or will have brought out similar product or similar service. So slowness can make you lose market. It can make you lose relevance. Speed can matter. So for you, that's the 5th pillar. For you to develop good and successful online presence, online brand, an online business, you need to understand that speed matters. It's absolutely important. And one of the things about speed, that in my experience, that sort of hinder speed is people who are perfectionists. Yes, perfectionism. Those who are perfectionists, they tend to be slower at bringing things out, and that can create a problem for them. Because sometimes the best can be made to be the enemy of the good. Things don't have to be perfect before you release them. I don't know how many of you can remember, if you can do a Google search and go and look at the graphic user interface of the very first version of Facebook. If you go and do that, you will laugh. It looked like something a primary school student put together. It was not visually appealing at all. But that was the first version. That was the first version of Facebook. Imagine if Mark and his team decided, you know what, we want a perfect user interface. So we're not going to start Facebook for another few years. Let's keep perfecting this privately. You will have lost market. What did they do? They brought it out with all its imperfections, and they started iterating and perfecting it. That's why they kept changing the way Facebook looked every few years, modernizing it, improving on it until we have what we have today. And I'm sure in the next 5 years, Facebook may look different from the way it looks today, because they're constantly adding value. So you need to understand that speed is important. That's the rule they were obeying. By saying, let's push it to the market and perfect it while it's in the market. That's what speed means. But those who want to be perfectionists will tend to want to keep it out of the market till in quote. So speed is very important. So that's the number 5. That is the 5th pillar. So let's go over the last 5 that we've done. We said the first one is intent. You got to be intentional. You cannot be forced into this. Yeah, it has to be something you want to do. Number 2, you said you have to be authentic. Focus more on your originality rather than simply copying what somebody else is doing. Find your own shape, your own uniqueness. Number 3, we said you have to be passionate. People buy more into passion, and they can see passion beyond your words, in your action, in your body language. They can see your passion. Number 4, we said patience. You got to be patient about this. Rome was not built in a day, so you cannot afford to give up because it's not working to start with. You've got to keep, at your graft. And patience is easy when you're following your passion. Patience is easy when you're following your passion. So because you love doing it anyway, so patience is easy. And lastly, number 5, we said speed. By speed, we mean don't wait to perfect your idea before you push it out. Push it out in a reasonable shape and perfect it as it goes along. It's best. You want to create a blog, for example. Don't spend all your time trying to perfect the look of the blog. Just start writing. Let's see your thought. People will be so enthused by the content that you are creating that your imperfect graphic user interface will not be their first priority. You can then perfect the look and feel of the site later. So start immediately. It's more or less what we're saying. That's the top 5 of the pillars needed to succeed online. Okay, so we want to proceed with the 6th one now. We looked at the first 5 already. So now I want us to do the final 5 of these 10 pillars of building successful personal influence, branding, and business online. So the 6th one is work. Is work. Being self-employed is not for the lazy. You need to understand that. Everybody that is self-employed that I know will testify to one thing. They were working longer hours as a self-employed person than when they were working for somebody. Because with somebody self-employed, there's no closing time. Even when you're home, your brain is constantly still working on the business. So it's not for the lazy. So you have got to work hard. You need to understand a principle. If you are starting this road as a self-employed person, and that is, you have to be willing to forfeit a perfect presence to achieve a perfect future. You got to be willing to, to endure hardship in a temporary, in an initial period, because you need to pay off later. Now, this work is what I mean. You got to be hardworking. It could mean as a self-employed person. It could also mean as somebody who is working on a salary, who has a salary job, but has a hustle by the side, that you are building, as a side show. Either way, it requires a lot of work. It means long hours. It means you need a lot of physical strength. It's absolutely important. Being self-employed is not for the weak. I admire those who are even doing this, who do things as part of multiple streams of income. So many of them will work 9 to 5, normally with, in their salary job. They'll get home in the evening and start their second business, so to speak. So it's a lot of work. So it's not for the faint-hearted. So you've got to create time for yourself. You've got to understand that in that initial period, your life will change. You've got to understand that. You can't want to do everything. Go to your leisure, go to all the parties in town, go to all the social events. You may not have time for any of those in the initial stage of building your business. So it's a lot of work. So you've got to accept. So if you feel you cannot give that kind of level of work, then maybe you should stay with salary job. But to build an online business, it takes a lot of work. You are editing videos, you are editing content, you are editing. This can take hours to do. It's a lot of work. So I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just saying this to say that you can't come at this with the intention that it's easy. No, it gets easier, yes. But to start with, it's going to be a lot of work. And the reason it will get easier is because you get better at it. So what used to take you 1 hour now take you 10 minutes because you've been doing the same, you'll be doing it over and over again. So it will get easier. And then it also get easier because now as it makes money, you can bring other people on board to help do some of the things you are doing. So you are not a one-man band anymore. So it will get easier, trust me. But to start with, it's a lot of work. So the 6th pillar is work. The 7th pillar of building online business is attention. 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 Paying attention to detail matters a lot. Paying attention to detail matters a lot. And this is important, not just in terms of your own capacity to pay attention to detail, but your capacity to recognize you need expert help to help you pay attention to detail. For example, I know people who started their own business and felt, I don't need a lawyer. I can read the contract myself. And they have signed contract that got them into trouble. Because there are elements in that contract that a good lawyer would have spotted. You should have challenged. So it's important that reading the fine print matters. It's very, very important. It's very, very important. The details, you should pay attention to detail. We say will and may being substituted in a sentence can significantly affect the meaning of that sentence. Example I like to give, which is a funny one, which my wife sometimes reminds me of, was that I remember there was one time I traveled. I think I was in Nigeria. I don't know where I was, and the kids needed something, and one of the kids sent me a message. Oh, Dad, we need X, Y, Z to do what. I said, look, okay, I'll tell your mom to give it to you so that when I come back. So I sent her a text. I sent my wife a text, and in that text I said, oh, I mentioned the name of the daughter. She needs so, for school. Help me give it to her. I may give you back the money. That's what I said. I said, I may give you back when I come back. I was testing her. And she said, okay, I will, I'll give her. 2 weeks later, I came back. I said, here's your bill. This is, all the bills I paid on your behalf. And I said, no, I don't think I'm paying this. She said, but you promised me. You said you will pay it back. I said, I didn't say I will pay it back. He said, you sent me a text. I said, go and read the text. So she went to read the text, and she read the text, and the text says, I may give you back. He said, you've caught me again. This is a problem about being married to a lawyer. Now, so suddenly I hope when she read it again the second time, that, okay, I said, I may give her back. I didn't say I will give her back. So you could see how a simple one word like that could completely change the meaning of a commitment. I'm giving that example to show you that, but by the way, I did give her back. Woman, if you don't give her back, that's a different story. Anyway, but the point I'm making is how, if you are to succeed in any business online or any present, you have to pay attention to detail. It's very important. Very important. If what you are creating online is what I call personal influence, you want to be an influencer, for example, then you've got to be very good at paying attention to detail. I mean, one of the things I learned when I started going on Twitter, which I learned the hard way, I must say, is how, unlike Facebook, on Twitter, if you post something, you cannot edit it. Whereas in Facebook, if you post something, you can go back and fix some of your spelling errors. And the challenge sometimes when you're posting on Twitter, especially if you're using a small handphone, some of us with the slightly bigger fingers like this, and that terrible thing called autocorrect, on the phone, can give what you are saying a completely different meaning or misspell certain words. Before you know, you posted it on Twitter with all the spelling errors, with all the whatever, and you find that you cannot edit it. And if all your posts is always full of errors, you lose credibility. So part of what I learned over time is to actually, read over anything before I post it. Even after reading over, many times it's still posted with some errors, typo errors. But a lot of people understand, that, if you typo here and there is fine. But you cannot afford to make everything you post to be full of spelling mistakes. So it's important, therefore, that paying attention to detail absolutely matters. So, attention to detail is very key. You need to be, the best. You need to do everything. You need to do everything to the best of your capability. You need to be able to pay attention to detail. Especially if it relates to an area of business that you do, making a mistake that is tangential to your business is not the same thing as making a mistake that is essential to your business. For argument's sake, for example, rather, if your business is about helping people to choose colors, you're expert at colors, that means you must know the difference between burgundy and red. You must know between sky blue and dark blue. You must know those details. Now, if you make a mistake in those colors, it's a big mistake, because a major problem for your business, because your business is color. So you're expected to know more about color than your average man on the street. So you can't afford not to get things right. Whereas if you make spelling mistake in other areas, people can forgive that easily. But if the mistake is directly related to your passion, it's a bit more difficult to, you might lose a tinge of credibility, which might take you a while to rebuild. So pay attention to detail. It matters. Agreements, pay attention to detail. Contracts, pay attention to detail. Partnerships, pay attention to detail. And if you know this is not your area of strength, employ people who do that. Employ people whose job it is to pay attention to detail, because that will give a lot of credibility, to to your business proposition online, and it gives quality to your work. So you have to pay attention. It's very important. Number 8. Now this is key. Everything I've said so far builds up to this number 8, the 8th pillar. And that is content. Content. Whether you are selling product, you are selling services, you are an online personality, you are an influencer building your influence, you live or die on the depth of the content you have on site, on your website or online. It's very, very important. You have got to make it content rich. It's key. Content rich. And this links to what I said earlier about being patient in one of the points. Because in your years or months of being patient, you are building content. You are building content. You are building content. By the time people now notice you a year or 2 years later, you have a lot of content that somebody starting now cannot just catch up with you. So you've got to build content. It's very, very important. And your content could be audio, could be video, could be text, could be graphics, whatever it is, you have got to build content. Great, irresistible content will ultimately attract customers. We attract fans, we attract likes, and of course, we attract money too. So content is very, very important. Content allows you to look experienced. I'll say that again. Content gives you the gloss of experience. If I go to your site online and I see 2 years worth of content on various topics, for me, instantly you look more like an expert than somebody who started and who has only 3 or 4 posts for all that same period. So content matters. So you've got to make sure you build content. Number 9. Social media platforms. That's the 9th pillar. Social media platforms. What do I mean by that? You have got to be present on all the media platforms. My friends, let me tell you this. I know some people prefer Facebook only. Some prefer Instagram only. Some prefer Twitter only, and the rest and so on. Some say, oh, I only do Pinterest. The truth is, you will have people everywhere. You will have customers and fans that are interested in all those various platforms to varying degree. So I always advise you, if you want to build an online influence or business, make sure you have a presence on all platforms. Now, you might have one main platform you use because you're more conversant with it. But if people go to, for example, if you're more of a Twitter person, yes, create your following, huge following and personality on Twitter. But if people go on Instagram, make sure they're able to find you. If they go on Facebook, make sure they're able to find you. If they go on, so that, you are not completely absent from every other platform and you're only focusing on Twitter. That, I would not advise that as a strategy. You need to be present across the board, and as much as possible, update those online presence. There's nothing as embarrassing or as disappointing to see somebody who's posting online on Twitter, who's very active on Twitter, and then you go to their Instagram, you find that the last post was 18 months ago. Or somebody who's active on Instagram, and had huge following, you go to their Facebook page, you look at the date, they've not posted anything new for 2 years. That's not good. So you need to make sure that at least once a month, if not more, you post something on all those other platforms, even though you are focusing on the main platform that you feel more comfortable with. That is fine. But you can't afford to lock out or block out the remaining online platforms and focus on just one. It will not work, because you never know. Somebody who finds you on Instagram, for example, can end up linking you up on Twitter, and you can get big business as a result of that. What opened the door for you was actually the Instagram that you are not using very regularly, but the fact that you are present there means you can still be found, and you can signpost your Twitter from your Instagram. So this 9 pillar means you've got to be present on all the social media platforms. You can't afford to just be one platform person. You've got to spread yourself across those platforms, even if you're kind of servicing one platform more daily, because that's what you do. But make sure every 2 weeks or thereabout, you push something to the remaining platforms as well, so that your presence is widespread across all the platforms. And lastly, number 10, the 10th pillar is tenacity. Tenacity. You must be tenacious and never give up. You must be able to wear disappointment like a trophy. It's very important. You will be, one of the things I remember, I can't remember who it was that was being interviewed some years ago. I was watching on TV. That is one of these Hollywood actress, and she was asked, "What's the secret of your success?" And she said, "You must be able to wear disappointment like a trophy." That's where I got that statement from. I can't remember who she was. And what she meant by that is there are so many castings she went for, that she didn't get. She said her first 100, castings, she didn't get the job. But of course, she's a much bigger star now. But the point I'm making is that she did not give up. So you've got to be tenacious. You are building all this content. No, people don't appear to be reading it, or you might be doing this video production. Maybe you are doing maybe how to cook, or how to bake, or some form of home skill that you are teaching people via video, and find out, only 5 people have watched this video. Don't worry, keep building those things. Keep building them. Even though only 5 people are watching. Keep building. Don't give up. Tenacity is important, so that by the time you grow big, people suddenly will have 500 videos you've done to look at. Remember the previous one, content. That makes you content rich. So it's important that you are tenacious. You don't give up. So let's go over all the 10 once again. We said the first one was intent. You have to be online intentionally. Number 2, we said authenticity. You have to be authentic. Number 3, we say passion. The authenticity helps you to build passion. You got to show passion about what you do. Number 4, we say is patience. Rome was not built in a day. Number 5, we say speed. How quickly you give voice to your idea can determine whether it succeeds or not. In this digital era, 1 day delay can cost you millions. So speed matters. Number 6, work. That we said, you got to, work much harder if you are working for yourself than if you're working for somebody else. Number 7, attention to detail. Don't miss that. Attention to detail matters. Number 8, content. Yes, we got to build rich content. Number 9, we said you got to be present in all social media platforms. Don't be a one-horse pony. You've got to be present in all social media platforms. I'm not saying you have to use all of them to the same extent. But create a Facebook page and throw something there once a month or twice a month if Facebook is not your thing. But don't be absent from Facebook is my point. So you have to be present across all the social media platforms. And number 10, you said was tenacity. You've got to continually be tenacious. Don't give up because you never know when your breakthrough will come. So I hope these 10 pillars is going to help you to understand that, success can be repeatable. You need to understand that even though we are different individuals, our situations are different, there are certain characteristics to success. And these 10 pillars, I think, will represent, for those of you who want to go online, represent the essentials. I'm sure some of you might have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more pillars to these 10, but these are the ones that came to mind. But the key point here is you've got to do this systematically. Is my point. You can't just do it haphazardly and expect to succeed. Success is not an accident. Success is not something that happens in spite of you. Success is what happens because of you, because of what you've done, because of steps you've taken. That's how success comes. And my prayer and my wish for you is that you succeed in everything you do, and you locate your own passion, your own authentic voice. Go online with it, make a success of it. I look forward to the questions you will be asking during the Q&A session, and then we can move to our next topic at our next masterclass. Okay, now for those of you who have questions, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to have you sending your questions before time. So if you have questions after what you've just heard, you can send it to info@charlesomole.org. info@charlesomole.org. Send your questions, and just the subject line, just put Masterclass question. That should be your subject, Masterclass question. That way, we'll prepare answers to those questions, especially if your questions require me to look into some details for you. I can't do that then during the live session. So send me those questions at info@charlesomole.org. But when we are live doing the Q&A, most likely will be tomorrow, because the principle here is that we're going to do the video on one day and the Q&A the following day. And the reason why I thought maybe we should do the following day is to allow you to digest this issue for at least one day. Think about it and then come up with your questions. Trying to do Q&A immediately after I speak might be too fast for some of you. Some of you might need to go over and view this all over again to be able to come up with your questions. And then tomorrow we'll have a live session, whereby we answer the questions that have been sent in via email. And then you have opportunity also to ask your questions live during that session. So get going, listen to the class again, send your questions to info@charlesomole.org, or you can ask your questions live. Thank you for watching, and I will come your way again. Goodbye for now.